ideas that have to do with frequencies out there, and we haven't really been taught all of them, and it's not second nature for us to know things about frequencies. I've already talked about the WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics, and there it is written if you need to see that, if that helps you. And that's on Facebook. And again, there's over 50 different programs that you can share with people. And I think it's very important to share. That's our whole idea, is to be sharing and letting people know that we can change our lives by sharing information about health. So one idea with the WAVwatch, I think some of you have already seen this, but obviously there's hundreds of sound frequencies. There's about 850 different sound frequencies. And some of you have actually made requests for a few more, so I'll see what I can do on that. But it's very important to work with that. I'm still clicking on some buttons here. I'm doing two things at once. Sorry about that. So we don't have any cords or messy wires or patches. And this does kind of make people question once in a while, because there are some versions out there that have some little holes in the side of the watch. And you could put a, an ear in there so that you can hear the frequencies. But can you imagine, we don't want to be wired up, really. We want to move around as people. So why would you want to have to sit and be plugged in so that you could hear it? You don't have to do that. That's how I made the whole product, is so that you don't have to hear it. But some people are wanting to do that for some reason, and that's okay. It does work that way. You can hear things, obviously, or you can absorb frequencies also. Now, it may be that your dogs or cats or ducks or whatever can't exactly wear the WAVwatch. And so you could actually put that on a counter of some kind and play it, and they will hear that frequency. And I have testimonies of improvement for that. But again, even if you have a hole in here for ear, you do not necessarily need to use it at all. There's no internet connectivity, and people sometimes still think that we're connected to the internet. This is not a Fitbit. This is not any way connected to, Apple or the internet or anything like that. And that is so important. And somebody asked me an important question yesterday. They said, well, if you're listening to some of those frequencies that are on the internet, are they good? And I'm saying, well, the purpose is to be good. Some of those frequencies are good, like 432 is a frequency, for world balance. And that's why I named my overall company 432 Energetics. If you get a package, you'll see it's 432 Energetics and the WAVwatch. But when it is received over the internet, it seems to me like there are some negative frequencies connected to it. So the delivery system is incorrect. And that's why we want the WAVwatch to be a standalone tool. And it's all inclusive. Everybody can use it. So even if you are hard of hearing, like me, I can still get a great connectivity with it, because my body is feeling it. And obviously, I think it's very cost effective. Maybe everybody doesn't, but there's a lot of bang for your buck there. So those are some of the things about the WAVwatch. So to kick matters off today, Albert Einstein says, concerning matter, we've been all wrong. What we have called matter is energy, whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. Very, very interesting. That's from Einstein years ago. All matter beings vibrate at specific rates, and everything has its own melody. So again, isn't it perfect that we are actually using a real advanced, MP3 player? We're using a song player so that we can hear these specific and particular melodies, even though they don't really sound like a song that we would sing. They're more like a bee buzz. So we have everything connected to energy. And the musical nature of matter, from atoms to galaxies, is now finally being recognized by science. And it took them decades and decades to recognize that. But that's what the WAVwatch is all about, is harnessing nature, harnessing frequencies to improve our self-care. Now, another gentleman did that back in the 1920s and 30s. And this is Dr. Edward Bach. And he was a classically trained physician, homeopath, pathologist, and bacteriologist. He's got a lot of titles there. But he spent most of his life studying the relationship and emotional states, personality, mental, and things like that. So there aren't a lot of pictures of him. I had to really dig. This is the one that was all over the internet, but this is Dr. Bach. And we have a lot to thank him for, because he is one of those people that told us all about vibrations and energy and matter, although we didn't listen very much. So I want to introduce his ideas because they are on the WAVwatch, and I'll kind of tie that in. So Bach was said to be able to hold his hand over a plant and could feel an emotion that that plant might be helpful for. So as he went on, he imagined that the early morning sunlight passing through the dewdrops would transfer healing power into water. So that's a very simplistic idea about what he did. So to me, this was very intuitive and God-given. And I have talked about this phrasing a lot. I couldn't find where I had read it originally to be able to put it on a slide for you. But one of his major ideas was that he said that God had given us all of these plants and trees and shrubs and everything in nature for our physical ailments. And he knew that God had also given us the same ideas for our emotional ailments. And so that was his life's work. And so again, they said he could basically feel an emotion. And then he did a lot of testing on it. But the negative part, and these two ideas came off of Wikipedia, Bach derived his solutions intuitively and based on his perceived psychic connections to the plants, rather than using research based on scientific methods. So back in the 20s and 30s, they were crying scientific, scientific, scientific. And yet we now know, and it's now been introduced time and time again, what is scientific? How are we misled by scientific? If they don't want us to use something that can be so simplistic and so easy for us to use, all of a sudden it's very unscientific. The same thing was done with rife and other rife like frequencies, other types of equipment that were developed to use frequencies. And so the AMA was able to shut all of these off and basically say unscientific. Although when they introduced things to us, they were not scientific either. There was no way to prove some of the things that they were saying. And I think I just heard something on the, TV the other day, and it's probably been out there, but, so one of the things that the Rockefellers and people that were using, changing everything over to connections with oil, they told us that fossil fuels were limited. And now that quote unquote scientific concept has been thrown out the door, and they're saying that is not true at all. So it's very interesting to see how things change. And so I'd like to introduce this to you as one thing that should change in your, your thought pattern. If you feel that using plants, and somebody who developed the whole idea for information on quote unquote healing or self-care using the frequencies from plants, if you think that that is a little bit strange, then think again, because so much information can be now had about that. So I love this part. And Bach's method was simple, and it involved 4 elements. He just needed the earth to nurture the plant, the air from which it feeds, the sun or fire to enable it to give it its power, and water to collect and be enriched with the magnetic healing. So my little PowerPoint kind of put these little symbols on there, and I guess I'm not loving the airplane one, but the air basically from which the plant feeds is actually nurturing us also. So when you think of things that can be easy for self-healing and self-care, we want simplicity. And seriously, that's what I say about the WAVwatch. It is really simplistic. It is frequencies, and we are just making them into a song that you can feel on your body. Much, much easier than some of the other research that has been done and things that are not as simplistic. So when it goes beyond and it's super hard, I don't believe that God intended us to have to be rocket scientists in order to take care of ourselves. So this is what Bach was saying also. He actually provided recipes for people for a long time so that anybody could make their own Bach remedy. And basically, he taught us that there are flowers that could be influenced only by, we should choose them ourselves, and that we can actually choose a sunny, cloudy-free morning, fill a small fine glass bowl with pure spring water, and then snip the flowers into the bowl so that we're not touching them and we're not influencing them. And then let the flowers absorb into that water for about 3 hours. So really, that's what he actually said. And of course, the scientific community, oh, that's not scientific, that's not going to work. But there are thousands of testimonies, and he has had success, and he's lasted through the years. So this is something very simplistic. So Bach's own words, they cure not by attacking the disease, but by flooding our bodies with the vibrations of our higher nature, in the presence of which disease melts away as snow in the sunshine. There is no true healing unless there is a change in outlook, a peace of mind, and inner happiness. So I know I'm just reading. That's because I can't get it all memorized. But he has several quotes that are truly amazing. So again, all I can say to this is the simplicity is unbelievable. And those were God-given inspirations. Again, very, very much inspiring. So this is just kind of a sampling. So today, what we have is the internet loaded with information about Bach remedies, especially in Europe. Now, see, I like the way Europeans do so much of their healing and studying. And so they have actually kept this. And of course, he was from England to start with. But flower remedies are most widely used to treat emotional disorders, mental conditions, personality conflicts, and psychological dysfunctions. You couldn't say it any other way. So there are 38 different remedies that he developed, again, from just the starting point of feeling intuitively with his hand what a plant might tell us. Now, once you see the plants and what they're connected to, it makes perfect sense. And so I'll point out a few of those ideas as we go along. So he also has a combination of 7 different natural plant remedies in one idea. And so these are on the WAVwatch, and these are emotional combos 7. So again, there's 7 different frequencies that we have been able to measure. So again, a step up, one more step in our natural healing today is to measure the frequency for those plants. And then we could put them on the WAVwatch. And this has been done, again, I don't know exactly the time that they measured the Bach remedies, But, so I don't know if that was 40s, 50s, 60s, but there are measurements out there, and there are books that have the measurements for different remedies. And so I was able to actually update these and put those on the WAVwatch. So again, there are 7 different combinations for helping with anger, hate, resentment. There are different ones for somebody that might be easy to influence, for emotional eating, for fear, for loneliness, for panic attack, and for sadness. So those are great ones to start with. And people sometimes will say, well, I'm not sure which one. On the Bach emotional remedies, I don't think we have to just pick through. Unless you're a really good muscle tester, I suggest that you just start and play through all of them, because there's so much overlap, and we're going to be getting the good from all of them. As you know, our world has been topsy-turvy for several years. And so some of these emotions may not click in with us, how much we are really disturbed by some changes in our lives. And so that's why it's a good idea to play through many of those. Now, the next idea I have on the WAVwatch is the list of the single Bach remedies. Now, in just a few minutes, I'm going to introduce the plants. But what I wanted to tell you now, I didn't have enough room on this little tiny, it looks big. Yes, it does. But when you start using it, you'll see it's a small amount of space to have information. So I'm not telling the name of the plant. I tried to put that on there in one version, and people didn't recognize, they didn't understand Bach remedies. So I just have changed it, and I have ordered the Bach remedies by their conditions. So you'll know that it's a Bach remedy, that originally that frequency was captured from a plant that Dr. Edward Bach, gave us the whole idea for. So now they're in alphabetical order. And again, unless there is something that just sticks out in your mind, go through and play all of those. So there's actually 38 of them, and I couldn't get it to number correctly here in 2 different columns, but there's 38 different ones, and you can play all of them, 1 through 38, and they're all 8 minutes long. And that's a great evening project, or even when you go to bed at night, they could be playing through at night. If you wanted to, in the middle of the day, you can pick out something and try to play it too. Like a lot of us are playing shock trauma and PTSD, so there is a plant behind the scene that we capture the frequency for this particular emotion. Another one might be fear or worries, frozen fear, terror. See, we have so many of these ideas just interjected into our lives today that we wouldn't normally have. So I'm saying that, wow, you have something on your wrist that can be so calming and helpful for a variety of things. Now, I forgot to put this on here. I was working on this, and all of a sudden I slipped, I got a slip disc, and that was yesterday late afternoon, and I could barely walk and move, and I was trying not to, just really wrench myself. So I did forget to put on here that these remedies are very, very hard to hear. And so I've had a couple people, including, different people say, oh, you can't hear these, so they're not doing anything. But these are in the range of hearing. So I looked this up, and I meant to see if I could capture a page and show you that. But all of these remedies are from like 175. Some of them go up to 980 hertz. They are all in the audible range from 20 to 20,000. Now, the WAVwatch does have a problem, like our own ears. Some of us can't hear the 20 range, and most of us can't hear the 20,000 range. So the speaker on here, is a little low on the highs and the lows. It doesn't work as well. Well, our ears don't either. Only some very specific people have perfect hearing, in the high range or the low range. And of course, my husband, Carl, is one of those. He has such good hearing and he can hear everything, and but not everybody can do that. So you may not be able to hear them, but rest assured that the Bach frequencies are able to be played on the WAVwatch because they are in the 170 and up range. But the reason you can't hear them is there's just one frequency, where in some of the other frequency sets, there might be 30 frequencies. And so they're going to have a real song, a real melody. They'll be making more noise. But you put this on your wrist and you can absorb it, okay? So don't worry and be calling and saying, hey, my WAVwatch isn't working. The Bach remedies make no sound. The same way with the chakras, they do not make a sound either, because if you look up chakras, which I have a whole hour workshop on that if you're interested, the chakras are only one frequency also. They might be 417, 936, 639, that kind of thing. They're only going to be one frequency. And so you can't hear them either. So that's what this is about this. Your body is absorbing. You may not be able to hear it very well, but this speaker does have the ability to play those frequencies. Now, if it was in the 20 range, no, we wouldn't even have them on here. But these frequencies are able to be used. And I have several testimonies on those also. So the best known remedy is Rescue Remedy. And this contains rock rose, impatiens, clematis, star of Bethlehem, and cherry plum remedies. Now, the reason to me that Bach remedies maybe aren't something that all of us can do is because I don't have those plants. I have no idea where those plants are. I don't even know what they are, And so I love to make things, and I do have a daughter-in-law also in the Nashville area that has access to a lot of different natural plants, and she's a forager. But would she have all 38 of these remedies? No, I doubt it. So that's why the Bach Rescue Remedy and those ideas are on the WAVwatch. We don't have to go outside and find a plant. We don't have to snip it in pure spring water. And by the way, can you get pure spring water anymore? So it makes it kind of fun. This is Dr. Bach again. And at a lecture, he described how we can use the remedies, the gifts of nature. So I think you see how he ties it in. He was given a God-given ability to feel something and to use it to help others. And this is the one that I thought was so interesting. His vision of a hospital of the future, he saw it as a sanctuary of peace, hope, and joy. Wow. A little bit different maybe from our hospitals today. So we want to get there. We want everything to change. We want these frequencies to be resonating and causing peace, hope, and joy. And also, we need to start within ourselves and to look for those ideas. So I thought this was a good picture. He's out in nature, and that's where he found his support. So these are the actual names of his remedies that he found. And again, I don't know what agrimony is. Maybe somebody can tell me at the end of it. So these are some pictures of plants that were on the website, the Bach remedies, but that doesn't mean that it actually is one that we're saying, because it was not very specific that way. Maybe somebody who's a plant person can tell me. But again, they were just snipping off the buds or the leaves and putting them in water, letting them set. If it was a bark, they were actually boiling them in water a little bit longer. So this idea is very, very strong, and it works. Now, in my office, before I started the WAVwatch, I had the full set of Bach remedies, and women would come in and I had a chart for them to read and a checklist, and they could check off, and then it would kind of narrow it down so that they could make their own specific remedy. So I have had those for years where people could make the remedies, but not from the plant itself. I didn't go that far. I started from the bottles that were purchased through Bach. So has anybody seen aspen leaves? I'm thinking that's a little bit easier, but do you have an aspen in your backyard or even a mile away? Very hard to get to. Beech trees also. Centauri, if I'm saying that right, he could feel that the inability to say no, and so there's different phrasings on that. And so that's why I kind of unified them and put them in alphabetic order. So you don't need to know the exact plant that it came from. But if you are interested and you want to dig a little deeper, we have some here. You can dig deeper on the Bach remedy website, and information all over the web. Cherry plum is the fear of giving your mind away. Serrato, lack of trust in one's own decisions. So you can see how things can kind of cross over. Chestnut bit was another one that he could feel, and he was specific on the bud. It's a failure to learn from mistakes. Now, he didn't just use his intuition. He made this specific liquid product and then worked with a variety of people to improve it or to make sure that he was on track. And again, to me, this is like ancient, the way that different cultures would have developed ideas and figured out which particular plants were so helpful for a physical ailment. But for some reason, no one had really ever done that specifically for emotions. So his work is a standout in the last century. It is unbelievable how he could do that when so many, thousands of years of history, nobody had put these together as much as he was able to. So chicory, selfish, possessive love. Very interesting. Clematis. I think I have a clematis vine. I might have that one. Crabapple. Elm. A lot of us have elm trees. Gentian. Does anybody know that plant? I do not know that one. So again, I think the reason that people don't make their own and didn't really catch on was because we don't have these plants available. But his idea, to me, is rock solid. There's a lot of hope there in using plants like we've done for thousands of years, knowing now a little bit more specifically that they have a frequency and they'll go through your body really quickly. So here's one for Heather, talkative self-concern and being self-centered. Wow, interesting. Holly for hatred, envy, and jealousy. Honeysuckle, living in the past. So we can kind of see that there's a balance. So anytime you have an emotion, there's a balance on one side and a balance to the other side. So a lot of times these are bringing a person into the balance. And that is another way to describe that, because there's always a left or right or a black and white or, that type of an idea. And that's still how he was able to work with that. So hornbeam, tiredness at the thought of doing something. Impatience. Now, see, this is one that sticks out in my mind. Impatience is from the plant, the impatience. So it's like, oh, duh, So he had a lot of intuition, but also some common sense, probably. Mustard, deep gloom for no reason. I'm not sure that I connect with that one, but he did. This is his work. Now, oak makes sense to me. Oak tree, it's going to bend, but it's going to come right back up. So oak trees are known to stand through unbelievable hardships. And so he phrases it, plotter who keeps going past the point of exhaustion. So oak, is somebody who's steady and true, always there, comes back. Different ways to phrase that, but you can see that made common sense. Yeah, those were probably the ones I picked up on the most, was the impatience and the oak. But other people might actually be able to pick up on some other ideas. Olive, exhaustion following mental or physical effort. So pine is for guilt. Red chestnut, over concern for welfare of loved ones. So we have that a lot in the breast health field where I work with women specifically. And some of us are so guilty. We're always thinking about the other person and not thinking of ourselves. So red chestnut seemed to be one that women would pick out a lot when they were making their own remedy from the Bach remedy set that I had. Rock rose was another one, rock water, scleranthus, inability to choose between alternatives. And I know you could probably read this faster, but if we slow down, we process it just a little bit more. So Star of Bethlehem is shock. We've got a lot of that in our society now, don't we? Sweet chestnut, extreme mental anguish when everything else has been tried and there's no light left. So a lot of people pick that one out too when they were working with breast health, breast cancer, breast problems. Huge to feel that people could feel that, Again, it's Bach's work. He put the connections there. He put it in God's, he thanked God for it. He said, God provided us for these. He was the one who dug just a little bit deeper. And again, from the 1920s and 1930s, over 100 years, we still have his information, even though they've tried to say, no, there is no such thing. It's not scientific. It was more intuitive. Again, there's a lot of in between in those 100 years. And I have always felt very comfortable using the Bach remedies. And I was so glad to be able to find out the exact frequency to know what they were so that I could put those on the WAVwatch. So others would be walnut, water violet, and white chestnut, unwanted thoughts and mental arguments, dominance and inflexibility. I mean, he covered the gamut of different ideas. We've got just a few more left to show you. So wild oat. Now that one stands out to me. Wild oat, uncertainty over one's direction in life. Now, doesn't that make sense? Some of the others I don't connect with. I don't know the plant, but some of them are like, wow, that makes sense. So the wild rose, drifting, resignations, apathy, willow, self-pity, and resentment. So some of you might make a little bit more of a connection with some of those plants than I did, but 3 of them really stood out in my mind and made so much sense. So again, these are the work of Edward Bach and his ability to hone in on different ideas. Now I'm going to go back. So there wasn't enough room to list the plant. So I worded and made these ideas in alphabetical order. So we don't have to do near as much work. And maybe that's making it too simplistic. But these are the single Bach remedies that I have, the 38 Bach remedies. And I have a frequency for every single one of them on the WAVwatch. And again, my suggestion is to start on the top one, addictions and anxiety, and go through all of them. Take the time to do that. You won't even know that you're doing it. And don't forget, some people are still having trouble. They're calling and saying, oh, my WAVwatch is shutting off all the time. That's because you have it set wrong. There are 2 different ways to set it. So in the lower left corner, which is really awkward to show you on the screen here, but in the lower left corner, you can set it 3 different ways just by tapping that little icon. And if there's double arrows there, it'll go from 1 to 38. That's what you're looking for, is to start it on addictions, anxiety. Make sure that the lower left corner is set with double arrows going to the right. I don't know if that makes sense as I'm telling you verbally, and then it will go through all of them. But if you have one with just a square around it, it is going to shut off in 8 minutes. So you would only get the first one to play and then it would shut off. So please check that idea out. Now, if you wanted to go to the right corner of the WAVwatch, there is also a menu bar. It's the 4 or 5 lines that are there. That's the menu bar. You can touch that. And then you can also see where it will say, date and time. It'll say home, and then it also says time. And so you can tell it to repeat once, repeat all, or excuse me, repeat one all for a long time, or to repeat or go through all of them. So the same thing, two different ways. One will let you this way and one is on this side. So again, I hope that made sense because it's so hard to show you. And I didn't think to put a video in on that. But I think I'm winding down. I just want to say that Bach remedies are totally amazing. And I don't want you to think that just because you quote unquote can't hear them, that they are not working. They definitely are. I have tons of feedback on people saying the anxiety or something was just lifted. When I get a little overwhelmed, I'll just play through those. So I'm going to back out and stop sharing. And if anybody would like to ask some questions, add some ideas, give me some tips, this is the time we're going to do it. Yes, and somebody said, go ahead.
Okay. Nobody's been able to answer this for me, and I've watched all your videos and listened to everything. Do you have any testimonies on the thyroid?
I have some in my office of some people who, ladies mostly, that could feel energy going directly. They said it kind of came up their arm and right to the thyroid. And then I have another lady who says that her thyroid was problematic. She's been using the WAVwatch for about a year, and they were insinuating that she was going to have her thyroid taken out. And I'm just quoting here. I don't have it written down, but she was saying that definitely the thyroid has maintained and they're not going to do anything with it. And she used the WAVwatch for that. So she was giving credit to that.
Okay. Is this where my thyroid is?
Yeah, it's down here where a bow tie would set, and it's actually bow tie shaped,
Because
it's not your Adam's apple. It's a little bit lower.
Down there. Yep. Because when I've had thyroid issues, hypothyroidism, for like 30 years. And you know how hard it is to regulate your medication with it. So It's almost like I'm nervous to even, play with it. So I did turn on the thyroid one, the one day. And that's why I asked you, I felt right here something going on. And it made me so nervous. I thought, oh my gosh, what if this makes me have to change my medication, because I'm 75 mcgs or mgs, whatever it is. And the next drop is down to 50. There is nothing in between. So it's very hard for them to adjust it. And I said to myself, well, you know what? I've lived with it for 30 years. Who cares if I keep taking medication? But in testimony for other things with the WAVwatch, I've only had it 3 weeks, but I'm very diligent with it. But I've had success with the headaches. I've used it 3 times, and each time it went away right away. Tennis elbow went away after one treatment. I'm athletic, so I play a lot of sports. Knee pain went away. Constipation went away. I know there was a couple other ones, but it truly is amazing. It really is. I have to say that. I've already bought like 5 of them already. So,
well, I need to be thanking you, but you're sharing with people. And yeah. It's so fascinating that we have such shares in our group. That's what I love.
Yeah, well, I love, because I never like to bother you, so I also talk to Coach Jimmy, because he's easier to get a hold of, because he knows that you just have so much going on with your practice and everything. So he's been helpful as well. But one way that you two differ is that you say that you like to play it through the night. And he says he believes that it interrupts your sleep pattern. And I wonder, do you think it's just individual that it might interrupt some people?
I don't think you can say a yes or no, and everybody's a little bit different, but I play it through the night myself, and, I put it together. So I think, that I feel comfortable doing that. Right. I mean, we hear sounds all night long. It's not that our body shuts off and can't absorb any sounds. It does. So,
No,
so you would just want to be playing the right ones. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I heard you say you play vagus nerve all night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I started to use that too, because I do think that's important. But I want to thank you for everything you've done, because it's a great watch. And I talked to you before. I was doing Sherry Edwards' tone box.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm Nancy. And I've been doing it for 8 months. But what really started to get old about it, even though I believe her concept, she's good, but you had to have a tone box and you had to have a headset, and you had to do it at least 3, 4, 5 times a day. You had to be listening to this. So I would spend hours where I'd have to have that headset on. So to me, having this WAVwatch, which I basically believe not only does the same thing, but does more. I think your WAVwatch, and I think I would be a good test market because I did it 8 months. My daughter was doing it too. And she's like, oh my gosh, Mom, I don't have to wear that stupid headset anymore. So she's 37 and in healthcare, and she's had a lot of health issues, but she is thrilled with your WAVwatch. My husband has one. I started to use it for the grandkids when they had stomach aches, earaches, and I can attest for it. I've tried everything. I'm called the Gadget Queen. So it's great, Linda.
Oh my goodness. And I do like that. And see, that's why I was trying to tell people that, yeah, you can plug in the ear, but why would you want to do that? That's the whole concept of this.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's too restricted. Yeah. So this is great. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Nancy. And as you were talking, somebody put a little testimony on, I've been using it for my sleep. And I said to myself last night, when I woke up in the middle of the night, I played the watch and I went back to sleep. So it works for me. So that's kind of, yeah.
Good.
So maybe a little bit more individual. All right.
But
thanks, Nancy.
I can also say I didn't use the sleep, for like sleep, but I am sleeping better. So, and I'm running all the programs. So it tells you, it's just cleaning up everything. Oh, and I have to tell you, you'll laugh. I was doing the parasite ones, running it through every day, running it through. Well, I'll tell you, I have never perspired in 70 years. I don't perspire playing sports or anything. I started to perspire under my arms. They started to itch and my belly started to itch. So that's the parasites moving around. So I'm telling you, it works, Linda.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Appreciate that. Okay. And, wow. I can't say much more than that. So would anybody else like to add something to it or give us some information? Another good one, make sure you're taking minerals and drink water, and that helps sleep through the night when you're wearing the watch. Great comment, Lolly.
Thanks.
Okay.
My friend in Texas, who's ordered, I think, 5 watches so far, she had lost her husband and was just so much in bereavement. She told me the other day that she ran the Bach emotions, and she said, thank you, thank you, thank you. She said to me, because I told her about the watch, but she should be calling Linda Bammer. She said she still misses her husband dearly, but she's at peace with everything. She said she just feels okay. So I thought that was a nice thing to hear.
Wow. And see, if we go back far enough, thank you, God, for the plants, thank you for somebody taking the time, Dr. Edward Bach, to figure out which plants help our emotions, and then I don't know exactly who to thank for measuring those frequencies so that they could be on the WAVwatch. But that's our whole chain that we have right now.
So I'm dying to buy my WAVwatch. Do you know when you're going to have them in stock again?
I tell you, I'm so sorry. I paid for them 10 days ago. So I'm getting very impatient, for them to get here. So they haven't given me the timeline, but usually it's 5 to 6 days once they get them shipped, so it's close, but they should have been here by now. I was a little disappointed, but.
So if I'm on the wait list, does that mean that I would be the next round because those are already?
Yes. I have wait lists on a couple of different PPN channels, and those people will be notified first. So
Linda,
Yes.
I had sent an email and asking about Herxheimer.
Okay.
You know what that is?
Yes.
Will I experience that with the parasite program?
I have not had anybody say that. Now, on another program, I have one specifically for parasites. I had 100 people that came to my office. I did some testing, and at different times. It took me months to do this, but I did testing. And of those 100 people, 42 had parasites as the worst thing. And I had my prototype, and they wore it for 30 minutes in the office, and no one felt any problems.
Yeah.
They did muscle testing and picked out a remedy. And after they wore the WAVwatch, their body rejected that remedy and said they didn't need it. And I retested them on the same tool, and it said they did not have parasites. And I also had people were so fascinated. Somebody came back in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, and 3 months. We tried to be a little scientific, and they still had not had any Herxheimer's reactions or anything like that. But my system called an MSA did not pick up any parasites. Now, I did have one lady that was brave enough to send me a picture 6 hours after she wore the WAVwatch for parasites, and it looked like she had a foot-long parasite that had left her body. So
yeah, I think I saw that video.
She didn't feel it. She didn't have Herxheimer's at all. So,
yeah. Now I have had that kind of stinging around my waist part or abdomen there, not lower, upper, like, and I thought, is it shingles or hives or whatever? But it's not bad. It's just every once in a while I feel kind of a stinging or but it's not itching. So I'm thinking,
I think when you have a reaction or you feel anything, it's working. It's doing something.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anybody else have a comment? Somebody also said, I guess I hadn't read this one. You can cover your hand over plants and watch them react. There is a slight movement. Remove dead leaves, and you notice the plants almost reach out towards you in thanks. And so there's a great documentary on plants and how they affect us. And I think I've seen that. They're actually saying that your plants are talking to you in your house. They are reacting to vibrations. So, just a few more ideas on how we've been given things that we can use to protect us. It doesn't have to be super intimidating, like we have drugs that are developed, millions of dollars in development, and blah 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 blah. They're extracting something from the plant, and then they're making it into a synthetic, saying that the plant isn't any good, but they got the idea from the plant to start with. You know what I'm talking about. So we have simplicity, and I think that's the start of everything. Other ideas? Anybody want to share anything else?
I will attest to that. I was sick, really sick, 2 months in last year, and I have a lot of houseplants. And while I was sick, some of my houseplants died.
You're kidding.
And they're always very healthy. And people say I have a green thumb, but while I was sick, some of my plants died. And it wasn't because they weren't being cared for.
Wow. Now,
I know.
Whoever put this on said she didn't remember the name of the documentary. If anybody else knows that documentary on plants, you can feel free to put it in. So the plants are unbelievable.
Yes, they are. Yeah. And they add to your environment very
Definitely.
well.
Now, is Libby on today? I'm not sure that I've seen her come on. Libby, helps me in the Springfield, Missouri area. She runs my office down there. And she was just up to see me a couple hours on Saturday. And, I'm just going to kind of tie this into muscle testing, because she had a lot of blisters on her feet, and, just something was going on with her feet. And she went to a dermatologist who actually prescribed a steroid cream, and it was in a tub. She said it was literally in a tub. And so she went ahead and put the steroid cream on her feet, and it really irritated her feet and made them almost worse. So what I wanted to share with you is that muscle testing can be unbelievable, because what I did for Libby when I saw her in person was try to figure out of the 850 ideas that we had on the WAVwatch, what could be helpful for her. So what I did was turn the WAVwatch on, and then I muscle tested screen by screen to see what screen would talk to me and see if we could figure out what was going on with her feet. I have a WAVwatch here that's a little slow coming up for some reason. There it is. So what I did was muscle testing with my hands. And I said, does Libby need anything on this screen? And I got to know if it would stick like this in my muscle testing method, it would go on through. Now, again, this is energy. So I know you're all stretching here, and a lot of you do this. So then I went to the next swipe screen. Does Libby have anything? Does she need anything on this one? That was a no. And so then, I worked with it. And what I ended up with was organs. So then I opened that one, and my finger reacted and it said organs. So then I went down the list. So does Libby need anything in brain? Does she need anything digestive? Does she need anything ear? Does she need anything with eyes? You see what I'm doing? That was a no. Does she need anything with gallbladder? So we went on down, and it picked out skin. Now, I'm not making this up. Skin. So picked up skin. So then we opened up the skin folder. Is this close enough where people can really see, or where I hope it's making a little bit of sense. So then I muscle tested by reading, or you could take your book and go through it too, page by page. So then we went all the way down doing muscle testing, and my testing said pemphigus. Does anybody know what pemphigus is? I can't say that I did. So Libby and I are going, what's that? So we simply stopped and we Googled pemphigus, and it was the exact picture of what she had wrong on her feet. We went through 850 ideas and picked out what it was with muscle testing. So I hope if some of you have not seen or learned about muscle testing, that this might, inspire you to do that. So the reason I'm making a big deal out of it maybe is because she had paid a lot of money to a dermatologist who had how many years of education on skin problems. And the dermatologist thought it could be psoriasis. So we Googled, looked up pictures of psoriasis. What did we get? Nothing in common. To me, that dermatologist should have been able to just look at that problem and identify it. But we use muscle testing. I didn't have 6 years of education on skin, and we were able to pick out the exact idea that Libby was having trouble with. So she was there for a couple hours and used the WAVwatch, and there were already some dried skin that was flaking off of that area before she left. And I don't have an update on it. I did text her this morning, but didn't hear any updates. But I hope that I've encouraged you to use your muscle testing, because you can go through it, and you can figure out a little bit better than just a guess. So hopefully that we'll get an update from Libby maybe on that. But I really do enjoy sharing ideas with you on muscle testing. Any other comments?
Where is the muscle testing? Is it on the WAVwatch?
No, you would have to go. I've done an hour-long presentation, and showed you how to muscle
Okay.
test.
Okay.
And there's, PowerPoints to read and stuff like that. So you could go on the the Facebook WAVwatch Frequency Fanatics, and you can just go through the topics and find muscle testing, and you might learn a little bit more about it.
I don't have Facebook.
Oh, okay. You can just look up muscle testing also, on the internet. Do you have that?
Okay.
You can just look up muscle testing to learn about it. So,
okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, we're kind of winding down. If I can answer any other questions, I certainly can. Someone had asked if I could do a review of muscle testing, but go ahead. Who had a comment?
I have a question. My mom wants to know, will I have to use this WAVwatch forever? I told her yes.
Well, I don't know if it's a have to. A lot of people want to.
Well, I told
I'm not
her,
sure of names anymore, and maybe I shouldn't be saying names, but somebody did call me, and she'd gotten a WAVwatch for her mother, and her mother used it and was very skeptical to start with. And then when the daughter kind of wanted the WAVwatch, or, said something about it, it's like the mother said, "You're never getting this back." I'm wearing it all the time type idea. So, it's a choice.
Was me.
It's a choice. Who was it?
Yes, it was. I'm Danae. I'm the one that was bugging you yesterday.
I'm not seeing you on there, but okay, Danae, perfect. Yeah, I knew somebody told me a little testimony like that. Anything else, Danae?
No, I was going to tell you something else, but I couldn't remember. My dad, who's driving me crazy this morning already, he said he's limited to calls. I think the first day I gave it to him was Sunday, 21 calls about it. And then, so yeah, it's getting better. Today was only twice, and it's only, not even noon. So we'll see how many times, but we changed him to arthritis today. So we're going to see how that works. His COPD is working really, really good. He's getting less and less treatments. And so we put it on arthritis. I hope there's one. I'm thinking that today's Zoom will show me how to do common sense, maybe, because he's forgotten all that. The older he gets, the less common sense he has.
So play some of those ideas for brain and emotions too.
Yes.
Danae, can you tell us how he changed on the COPD, the difference in how much he was using oxygen?
Yeah.
He was getting treatments. He gets them about 6 times a day, I guess. And let's see. He called me, here I am. He called me Sunday morning, and I thought he was going to start crying. And he's like, one of those macho men that just never cries. And so he was scared. He's like, Danae, he said, I woke up, I couldn't breathe. I was scared. And he said, so I had him come in and do a treatment for me. And then about an hour later, he's like, all my dogs, they're just as bad as kids. They're just as bad as kids. When you get on the phone, they've got to, act up. And so, anyway, so he got another treatment. I took the watch over at 11 o'clock. By 11:22, he was breathing better. He said, I can breathe better. I'm getting deeper breaths. So when they came by at noon to give him another treatment, he said, I don't need it. I don't need it. So he's getting less treatment now. And he has a bad habit of overeating. So I think that's probably some of his problems, if he should stop eating as much, then he could probably breathe better. But, that's my opinion, and I'm no doctor, but I play one on TV. No, I'm kidding. But he's just doing a lot better. And I think I told you yesterday about my dog, my Pit. She had an ear infection and was real lethargic, put the WAVwatch on her back. I had to hold her down for 20 minutes, and she's acting like a puppy, as you heard. She's having to play now, driving me crazy. And she's 7 years old. Yeah. And she was acting like a puppy after the WAVwatch. And so, but I mean, I can go on and on about testimony. It's unbelievable. Yeah, my mom, she will not. I had to order her one. She's like, I'll never live without it. But then she goes today, she said, ask her if I have to wear this forever. And I told her, I said, Mom, I said, common sense here. I said, you're around people all the time. You're exposed to different things all the time. So yes, you will use a WAVwatch forever.
Yes. So some fun ones. And I was thinking you told me your dad had 6 treatments a day and he's down
Yeah.
to 2.
He's
Is that
down to
correct?
he's down to about 3, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe
So
3. Yeah. So it's getting less and less, but he's only had it since Sunday. So,
okay.
I mean, it's making a difference. But today he wanted to be on arthritis because I can't write, I can't do anything. But I will tell you this, with the COPD treatment, he called me, he goes, Danae, I can feel my toes. He said, there's tingling all down my legs. And this was just on COPD. And he said, there's tingling all down my legs. I said, that's good. That's good. And I said, that means you're getting circulation in your legs. I said, you know how when you run, you start itching all over? It's because your circulation's going crazy. And I told him, I explained that to him too. And he was like, oh. And then he called me about, I don't know, 3 hours later. He goes, I can actually feel my toes. I can see them moving and I can feel them. So, I mean, you know, he was excited about his toes.
So, I just keep saying, thank you, God, for frequencies. He gave them to us. We just didn't know. We just don't know how to use them. We haven't used them enough all these thousands of years.
I told you yesterday, I thank God for you. And like I said, when God told me to listen to that show that you were on, I mean, I told you he sells a lot of hopeism. And so I kind of but when God said, listen, and I'm like, you came on and oh my gosh, you have saved, I mean, our whole family. My sister's getting one next week. And remember, I told you she's going to Israel for Christmas for her husband's work. So she's been putting money aside. She's a budgeter. And she's putting money aside. And so I've got the money next week. And so as soon as they come in, I've got 2 sisters doing it, my mom and my sister's 2 ladies from her church ordered them.
Right.
And I think she had an injury and could not. I mean, she's in severe pain for 2 years. She had one of her students hurt her really bad. And for 2 years, she's been in pain. My mom loaned her watch begrudgingly, but she loaned her watch. And I think she had it for 3 days and was able to take a shower that morning. She went to Sam's Club. She unloaded her groceries. She did things that she hasn't been doing in 2 years. And so, I mean,
just a couple of days. Oh my goodness.
I know.
All right.
It's amazing.
Thank you so much. I think Denise has a question.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I'm new here. It's the first time I've ever used Zoom. I love my watch. My question is does the volume make any difference is it better if I hear it a little, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter. Yeah. So my example, I'm deaf in one ear. And when I was testing it, I couldn't hear it. It was set at 12, set at volume 12. And I went into the bank and the tellers literally thought I had some bomb strapped to my wrist. Their eyes were like this, and it's like, what is that? Take that thing off. Get out of here. You can't come in. Seriously. I am not kidding. And so some of it is just for comfort, nobody needs to hear it. You can just work on your body by itself. So just having fun with that. But that was a true story. So
thank you. I have one more question, and this might be kind of weird. You might not be able to answer it. My problem is Hashimoto's hypothyroidism, and I'm on medication. When I do the watch, will it make it better, and will it affect my dosage of my medication? Or
it might. Again, everybody would be different, but you would want to be checking with your medical doctors and say, hey, I think I've done something and it feels like, maybe it's better. Can you recheck or let me know? So you should, kind of check with your doctor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love this thing. I bought one for my son, my husband, my sister-in-law. It's like, I'm hooked.
Oh, thanks, Denise. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
Anybody else? I think I need to say have a new idea here, but I try to get these over by 11, and now I'm saying maybe I should be 11:11. You know, I'm kind of a number person now, and you know, so we're getting close to 11:11 before we shut off. Anything else anybody wants to talk about?
No, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah,
You're truly a gift from God. Thank you.
oh, I don't know about that, but we all are. Everybody is. Look at this. Everybody. We're just reaching out. We're helping our own loved ones. We're telling other people. You know, you can tell them about the Facebook site if they can go to Facebook, or they could go to YouTube. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm also rolling some of those over on Rumble, or having that done. I'm not very good about all this high-tech stuff. So some of the videos are appearing on Rumble, and it's just WAVwatch, you know, WAV, Waves and Vibrations, WAVwatch. So lots of things you can do along that line. So that's what we need the most, is to share and just let people know that frequencies really are the wave of the future. So anything else? I guess I do have one. Go ahead, Levon.
The code from TTS 88, is
Yes.
this still going to be good?
Yes, it will be. Huh? Yeah. So I've been on TTS 88. That code is good. And then Michelle Moore, and her code is Michelle 100. So if you see me on there, if you need to order more. So
yeah,
that will be hopefully in a week or less that you can go on and order for other people. So, and then some people are just ordering a couple, so they have one on hand, you know, to share with other people in their neighborhoods. So thank you very much for everybody coming on today. I think the last thing I was going to say, I'll try to give you an update, but I have a young woman who has a 3-year-old autistic child that beats his head at the, you know, just problematic. She's gone to the emergency room. I don't know, it seemed like it was once a month, you know, don't quote me on that, but she's been at the emergency room a lot. And she got the WAVwatch yesterday and used it one time. And the next time he had a problem, he did not beat his head. She said he was very much more calm and did not beat his head. So I'm crying on that one. I don't know if we'll hear any more updates, but at least one time there's been improvement. So anyway, pass the word around. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
11:11.